Hello, good morning, or good afternoon, good evening, depending upon where you are in the world. Right now it's 10 a.m. in the Philippines on Wednesday, the 29th of May, 2019. And it's 10 p.m. in New York on Tuesday, the 28th of May, 2019. How are you today? I hope you're having a wonderful day. Hope everything's going well with you. Today we're going to be talking about another aspect of love. Every day, same time. As right now, we talk about some idea about love, how love works, how love can apply to our lives, what love is about, and how love can change the world, and how love is so life-changing. Love is a life-changing thing. Once we tap into love, once we understand love, once we decide to make love the foundation of our lives, and we start to practice love, we try to understand love, we get closer to love, and we use love as our foundation and as our guide. Once we take that on, then it's absolutely life-changing and, as a result, world-changing. When we're aware of love and we're coming from a place of love, we're in the love zone, for example, then we're automatically going to have a different world. We're going to live in a different world because the world is malleable. The world can be changed depending upon our attitude, our approach, how we behave, how we react, how we interpret things. Remember, Einstein said one of the most important questions to decide the answer to ask yourself, is the universe kind? Is your universe kind? Mine is. I know that the universe is kind. I know the world is a wonderful place. Hi, James. I love you. Thanks so much for watching. Today I can see comments, I think. So I think what it has to do with is if I expand the comments or not. If I expand the comments, then I can't see people commenting to me. I can only see my own. So I'm kind of learning how to do that. Okay, so where was I? Yeah, so about sharing love and about living in the love zone, it changes the world. The world is completely malleable from that standpoint. But we've got to know what love is. So because we have love inside of us, each and every one of us could be considered an expert on the love that we know in our hearts. Each of us are learning. Not one of us is the authority that can tell each other what love is. We can just explore it, we can share it, we can enjoy it together. So today we're going to talk about, do I have to love somebody who doesn't love me? If they don't love me back. If someone is doing something that I interpret as hateful, as unkind, as rude, as unloving, some behavior that really I feel is just not good at all. It's aggravating, it hurts me, it makes me upset. Do I have to love that person? Do I really have to love them? I mean, come on, it's not fair and it's not right. And you know, it says in the Bible, an eye for an eye, right? Which Gandhi interpreted as saying, well, that makes the whole world blind. I think so too. When we are treated in a rude manner or a manner that we interpret as being rude, maybe it's not intended to be rude, maybe it is, it doesn't really matter. What matters is how we interpret it, how we take it in, how we accept or don't accept it, and how we react, how we understand the actions of others. And this is where the key of understanding can become so incredibly important. Because if you don't understand, and if you don't have the intention to understand others, because you don't believe that the universe is kind, you don't believe that everything is here because it's supposed to be here, and that we're living in a perfect world, and that everything's just exactly the way it should be, then you're going to reject everything, you're going to be fighting everything, you're going to be fighting the world. And that would be like, you know, trying to swim upstream at Niagara Falls. I mean, it's and I've done it. I mean, probably all of us have done it from time to time, fighting the world, not accepting, not knowing it's going to be okay, having that faith in love, having that faith in the universe inside of us. We know it's going to be okay. Doesn't mean that we're apathetic. It's the opposite. It means we're active and we're focused with our action. We're focused with our energy. And we contribute in the ways we want to contribute. If we see a problem we want to solve, we're much more able to solve the problem if we say, okay, it's going to be all right. The world is the way it is, and I'm just going to do what I can, that I decide, because I enjoy that. That pleases me, and it is good for the world. So once we do that, once we recognize that things are the way they are, and that everything's going to be okay. We get to do anything we want in the world, whatever that is. So when it comes to somebody getting in our face, having some conflict, maybe we feel attacked, or we feel put down, we feel criticized, we feel sabotaged. How do we return that? How do we react to that? How are we supposed to behave when someone's being that way? Okay, now I'm going to look at my notes on a different page here because I don't want to lose my ability to see your comments. Do I have to love people that don't love me back? What about turning the other cheek? Is that some universal genius wisdom plan? Turn the other cheek? Always depends. It always depends. If somebody's shooting at you, do you stand there and get shot? Well, that's not something I would do. I don't consider that very loving to myself. And I don't consider that very loving to the environment because I want to live. I want to be happy. I want to be passionate. If there's one bullet in that gun and they're going to shoot my baby, they're going to shoot somebody that I love, somebody that I care about so much, and I would rather them shoot me, okay, maybe standing in front of a gun, maybe in that way, turn the other cheek, say, okay, go for it. Maybe in some circumstances it could be a good choice. But one of the reasons why we look at love like this on a daily basis is love is dynamic. Situations are different. You can't make hard and fast rules, write them in a book, and expect that to last thousands of years. That's not what love is about. Love itself is stable. Love itself is a foundation. Love itself is not changing. It's kind of like the way they define God, isn't it? Always there, everywhere, not changing. But the expression of love, how we behave, how we interpret love, how we do the love, how we act on love, that's got to be different in every single circumstance. And there's no right and there's no wrong. There's just what we know to do the best we can at the time. That's how love works. So when it comes to some kind of behavior, turn the other cheek. Sometimes it's appropriate. Sometimes we should put our hands up and say, don't hurt me anymore. Sometimes it makes sense to run away. It doesn't make sense to punish, but maybe sometimes it makes sense to hold someone. You're hurting that person. I'm going to stop you from hurting that person, hurting me anymore. But this isn't about punishment. This isn't about the money-making American prison system, which is the most efficient penal system on earth. I mean, there's more people in prison in America than in China. And we've got 75% less people. So this penal system is about profit because pretty much America is driven by profit. It's a very, very money-centered country. Money drives everything. Money and power. Military and money. Military and money. So when it comes to dealing with someone who's acting up, what's their reaction? What's the reaction of the state, of the police state in America? Okay, shoot them, restrain them, dominate, absolutely dominate. If you've ever dealt with a police officer, 99% of the time they're going to be like that. They're going to deal with you as a threat in a very big way, and they're going to do whatever they can to completely dominate and subdue you. I've seen, several policemen with their feet pushing down on the neck of somebody who's not even moving, they're not even fighting. And they've killed people before like this with restraining them, what they call restraint. Even though they've got tasers, they got handcuffs, they got 5-on-1, 6-on-1, 7-on-1. So this kind of a behavior, I don't think that's a proper reaction to someone who's not loving you. Especially a lot of the time. I mean, there was a guy on the freeway who was nuts, who had a rake in his hand, and a policeman, this is many years ago in LA, policeman shot him to death. The guy was like 10 yards away, and the cop shot him and killed him. The guy had a rake. So, do we want to be that way? Do we want to respond with this kind of force to someone who's either physically attacking us, or somebody who's messing with our head, or someone who's doing some kind of a tricky behavior? How do we react to that? What's the best way to react? Someone who's not loving us back. Someone who it appears their intentions are evil intentions. They want to hurt, they want to destroy, they want to put. Well, at the core of all of us is love. we all have love inside. Even if it's somebody who seems really sadistic or a sociopath. I've met people that almost everything they do is like a sociopath because they don't have the mental intention to do good in the world. They don't feel safe. They don't feel capable. There's something that's really kind of backwards in there. So the behaviors that they take are predatory. They take advantage. And so these people still have love in their heart, but there's a misunderstanding of love. There's a pain. There's a confusion. How do we react to that? Do we react with unconditional love? Absolutely, love itself is unconditional. The nature of love is unconditional. And we want to be always loving as much as we can all the time. There's never, ever a time where we want to say, oh, I'm not going to love now. But what do we do in a situation where something needs to be done to prevent harm? Something needs to be done to protect someone. Something needs to be done to stop the killing, stop the hurt, stop the pain, stop the rampage. Love does that. Love is nurturing. Love is protective. Love is helpful. Love is compassionate. So we act in a way where we're being those things, nurturing and compassionate. How do you apply that to a situation? Well, so many situations that come up, they're just completely theoretical. People say, well, what if you're in a boat and there's no room for, does the man drown in the water like Titanic, or the women and children are saved? And, hey, next time we're in the Titanic, we can talk about that, okay? But these theoretical situations don't apply to real life because they're theoretical. So what we do, like I mentioned earlier, we deal with life as it is. And if we know love, we understand love, that's all we can do. We can't make a decision that's going to apply to any theoretical situation that would ever occur. That's not what life is. That's not how life works. So many of the mental gymnastics that people go through in college about logic and about humanity, the study of human beings and psychology, so much of this psychology and what psychiatrists study has nothing to do with what real life is. Real life is our decision to love or not, our understanding of love. That's all life is ever about. It's about nurturing, compassion, kindness, warmth, respect, consideration, passion, joy. That's what life is about. And that doesn't go in textbooks. You can't. I mean, you can share ideas about that in general, but you can't lay down laws and do this kind of analysis. See, it doesn't work. It doesn't. If you've been to psychiatrists, if you've been to social workers, a lot of times that's science. It just doesn't apply to people. But unconditional love, okay, love is unconditional. Is there anyone on this earth that can practice unconditional love? I doubt it. I don't think so. But we do our best to not put conditions on love, to not decide, I'm not going to love that person because of this. If we understand love, we always want to love because love is so powerful. Love can do anything. You don't shut off the love switch in certain situations because love doesn't apply. Love always applies when you understand love. So yeah, we want to always apply love. The laws of physics and meeting halfway is the next point here. Anybody who does any kind of building, if you're dealing with materials, you always get extra. You never get just enough. You calculate, oh, we're going to need 100 nails to put this wall together. You get 110 or you get 120 nails because some get bent, some get lost. You didn't calculate correctly how many you needed. Maybe you'll end up with extra. That's okay, but you always get extra. If you're measuring something, you always, like if you need 10 feet of 2x4s, you make sure that you have a little bit extra. Maybe when you build a wall, you're going to cut it exactly, but you might make a mistake. So you always have extra. When it comes to dealing with other people, when it comes to loving people that don't love you back, you do extra. You've got to do extra because of the physics of us living in this three-dimensional universe. Love is not a three-dimensional thing. Love is not limited by the physics that we're limited by. But because we're limited by physics, because when someone speaks, there's a tiny delay to when we hear it. There's a distortion based upon our understanding, based upon our focus, based upon our own baggage. So when someone says, I would like to have lunch, that could mean a million things. Maybe they're not even that clear about what they're saying, but let's say they're 100% clear about exactly what they mean by that. Are we? Not always. If somebody says, I don't like the way you cut your hair, what does that mean? Do we understand that? If it's a good friend, maybe it's a sarcastic joke. Maybe they're just want us to laugh. Maybe that's the intention. So what do? We go more than halfway. We don't stop at halfway. We don't measure exactly and say, I'm only going to this point. I'm standing on principle. I got to tell you, like things that we hold sacred, principles can totally mess up our ability to get along in this world, our ability to have harmony and peace in our lives, because I'm standing on principle, because I decided that I'm never going to do that. That's the problem with religion. That's the problem with politics. And that's the problem with being closed-minded and not understanding that day to day we deal with flexibility. We have general guidelines, compassion, love, understanding, kindness, good intentions, positive intentions based upon the belief that the world is kind. But we can't stand on the principle that you say that to me, I'm going to react this way. That life doesn't work that way. Life can't work that way. That's not a workable model. Being flexible is a workable model in every situation based upon the general guidance and the understanding of what love is. Love is always going to work. It's our application of it that maybe always is not as effective as it can be. And look at it this way. If somebody's not loving us, we can only do the best we can do. Maybe they are loving us and we don't really get it. We don't really understand. It's our fault that we misinterpreted that comment about our haircut. It was just a joke, and maybe it was a good intention joke, and we were supposed to laugh because maybe we looked stressed out and they wanted to lighten up our day. So when it comes to meeting someone halfway, that's not enough. You can't meet halfway. You have to extend. Love is vulnerable. We stick our neck out. We try. We're willing to be embarrassed. We're willing to be rejected. We're willing to be abandoned because love is so strong, it doesn't matter. It's okay if we're rejected. It's okay if we're insulted. It's okay if we lose face. What is face? What is that about? Well, I live in Asia right now, and I could write a book on what face is about. It's an amazing thing. So that's a principle, and that principle drives us to conflict. It drives us to aggravation, and it knocks us out of harmony. These things we hold most sacred, and these things that we think are such important principles, they create conflict by their very nature. I'm not going to stand for that anymore. If we're trying to nurture somebody who's being abused, whether physically or mentally, verbally being abused, we're kind of crossing that line a little bit, aren't we? Because we want to protect them, we want to nurture them, and we're kind of getting involved in a little bit of conflict there. I don't know. I'm learning how to love. I'm learning how to focus on the qualities of love and how to handle the situation. Luckily, right now, that's theoretical, so it's not real. It doesn't really matter. Okay. Revenge, hostility, and the brainstem. We have evolved from reptilian creatures like lizards and things, right? We've come from apes, I guess. And part of the original mammal or part of the original animal structure has this fight or flight response. And they call it the reptilian brain or the brainstem. And it's the very, very basic brain that doesn't really think logically. It just reacts, and it reacts in an extreme way. And when someone has kidnapped your child, and you catch the guy, and the guy's in court, and you're sitting there testifying against him, and your child was killed, abused and killed by this person. Yeah. The more you focus on, it is, by the way, is the reaction to that cut and dried? Is the reaction to that in stone? No, because people are all over the place with the reaction. Extreme grief, extreme hostility, extreme forgiveness, people do it all. What's love? Well, if we're feeding our brainstem, if we're ruminating, if we're playing this tape over and over in our minds, that is creating this hostility, we see that guy who did that thing, and we just want to tear him to shreds. Is that love? Tearing someone to shreds? Execution? Torture? Waterboarding? Is any of that love? Is it nurturing? Is it compassion? Is it understanding? Is it empowering? No. No, it's not. But we have some impulses inside of us based upon fight or flight, based upon survival. And when we feed those, when we focus on those, when we know nothing about love, compassion, forgiveness, understanding, if we don't know that, we're going to say, I want to kill that guy. And if we're watching that, and we're not loving ourselves, we don't understand love, we're going to say, oh yeah, I'd kill that guy too. I can certainly understand reaction. I've reacted myself. I understand that, but I don't endorse it. I don't stand behind that. I don't stand behind that as a principle. I have a right to do that because he's so evil. This is what the state does. It executes people for executing. It kills people for killing. It murders people for murdering. George W. Bush murdered more American servicemen than 9/11 did citizens. About 3,000 people were killed at the 9/11 attacks. As a revenge, he ended up murdering, who knows, millions, hundreds of thousands of innocent people, invading their country. It had nothing to do with it. But how about Americans? How many actually American service people, military, did he kill? He murdered more with his revenge than were originally murdered in the 9/11 attacks. What kind of logic is that? That is brainstem craziness. It's got nothing to do with love. It's got nothing to do with good leadership. It's not leadership about love, is it? It's not leadership about compassion, understanding, nurturing, kindness. Well, we don't know, right? Because they like to keep everything secret, what they do, why they do it. So anyway, this kind of reaction, this kind of brainstem reaction, these primitive reactions, when we know love, we're aware of what a primitive reaction is and is not. And we know, is this love? Because we have a brain. Because we have love inside. Because we have love inside, we can draw on that. Okay, looking at other qualities here, looking at other points here. So another thing we can look at is being constructive or not being constructive. Are we being constructive if we're fighting fire with fire? If you fight fire with fire, you just burn the house down faster. If you've got a kitchen fire, do you pour gasoline on it and light it with a match? Fire with fire is one of the most ridiculous concepts. It's like eye for an eye. These ideas come from fight or flight, brainstem, primitive brain kind of reactions. If you're living in that world where everything around you is trying to kill you, and you've got to bite them before they bite you back, or if they approach you, you just attack. Wow. That's living in the world of principles and dogma and sacred things. Love isn't that world. Love is a world of understanding. Love is a world of nurturing. We nurture ourselves. We don't jump into the lion's cage. And if we are attacked, we find a way to survive because we want to survive, right? But at the same time, we've got to really be aware of these primitive reactions and these reactions that are constructive or destructive. If somebody at work keeps taking your pen, I've had that happen. There are people that always take pens. They just take them and they never give them back. And for me, I like to have a pen because I love to write. And for me, I like to have the pen and paper. I've got pen and paper all the time. I've got it. I've got pen and paper next to me. I've got an ability to write and make notes, whether it's on my smartphone or whether it's physically pen and paper. So that's something that's important to me. But there's people that always take your pens. And I've had that frustrate me in the past. And I realized, okay, I want to fight fire with fire. I want to go around taking pens. Do I want to verbally assault that person? Do I want to react like some cornered animal? Or do I buy a box of pens? How much does it cost to buy a box of pens? How difficult is it to keep the pen in your pocket when people say, hey, let me borrow your pen? No, because I'll never see it again. Nothing wrong with that. No, I'm sorry. I can't give you my pen. It's the only one I've got. There are solutions that are not fighting fire with fire. There are solutions that are kind, compassionate, understanding. Remember, love is not about rolling over and being abused. That's not love. That's called masochism. That's called victim. And that's not love. Okay, last one, returning evil for evil, fire with fire. Okay, we've already been talking about that. Returning evil for evil, fighting fire with fire. What do we do if somebody doesn't love us? Well, one thing that we can do, that I'm going to tell you right now is the best thing you can do, is take a deep breath, calm down, find the love in your heart. If you have a hard time doing that, it's because you're not doing it enough, you're not practicing it enough. I got to practice it every day because I've got to learn love, and I'm in a process of learning. So every day I meditate. Every day when I lose it, if I have the presence of mind, take a deep breath, I calm down, I find the love inside, and I react with nurturing, understanding, compassion, kindness, patience. In situations where I feel like I'm being attacked and I'm not getting this love back. I thought I was loving, but I'm not getting love back, but I got to love back. You always love back. Of course, the answer to the question, should we, how do we react to someone who doesn't love us back? We always react with love. If there's not enough love in that situation, we find the love in our hearts and we add that love because that's our responsibility. Because we know what love is, and maybe they're learning. Maybe they don't know. Maybe we think they don't know. Maybe it doesn't matter. If the situation needs love, pour the love on. Add the love to the situation. Love is infinite. Love is in our hearts. Do I love people that don't love me back? Well, how do you know they're not loving you back? We're not sure about that. We don't know their intentions. We don't know what's going on, but I will tell you this. If we don't feel there's enough love, we find the love inside because we know that love is infinite. We know the universe is kind. And we find a way to love. And love is not fire. Love is not masochism. Love is not being a victim. Love is what the qualities are. You can see links here in the notes here in the comments that I've added to this video. There are links that define 68 qualities of love. That's what we do. And that's not attacking, it's not punishing, it's not teaching somebody a lesson. Somebody doesn't love us back. That means there's not enough love in this transaction. Let's add love. And when we know what love is, that's going to solve any situation. We feel like we're not being loved back. That's totally in our own head. That may not be the reality at all. So let's interpret that as saying, there's not enough love going on here. If we want to have a whole cup of water, and there's only half a cup there still, it doesn't matter whether they added a quarter cup or how much they added. If we added the whole half cup and they added nothing, it doesn't matter. It's not about that. It's about we want a cup. We want the full cup. We want the love to be overflowing. So we have that inside. We're a love machine. We can make all the love anytime we want. So we fill up that cup with love. That's what we do. That's what our responsibility is. Each and every single one of us. That's what our responsibility is. Not to tell other people what to do, but for us to add the love ourselves. Okay, that's the thought for today. That's the idea about love today. Do I have to love people that don't love me back? Well, if that's the way you interpret it, absolutely we have to love people that we don't feel we're getting loved. Because love is infinite. Love never runs out. There's no shortage of love. There's just the blocks that we put. There's just our inability, our lack of understanding, our lack of love skills. Okay, so that's it. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being there. I'm here every day, starting a half an hour ago, whatever time it is where you're at. And I'm here 7 days a week, unless some emergency comes up. But so far, I've been able to keep pretty close to that every day. Links, yeah, the seminars coming up and courses coming up online. There's going to be a new course that's going to be released on June 1st and start to be delivered on June 15th, called Love 101, an intro to genuine love. That's what we're talking about, is genuine love, not misinterpreted love. And some other things coming up, but I'm here every day. And if you do a like to the Love Buddy page, there's a link for that too in Facebook, you'll be able to get daily postings. I post every day ideas about love. And any feedback you want to give, feedback is golden. It's pure diamonds and gold if you equate that with value. It's pure love. Feedback is love. Feedback is one of the qualities of love. So sharing what we think and sharing what we know, and even if we disagree or we do agree, it doesn't matter, because all of that is helping us to understand and grow in love. So thanks so much for being there. Have a wonderful day or night, and I'll see you tomorrow. I love you. This is Matthew from Love Buddy. Love is alive.